and today we're going to be talking about how to be the bank. My name is Eric Perez. I help run operations for Veronica Figueroa and the Figueroa Team businesses. This is my, you have a microphone too, bro. Pick that up. There you go.
Let's rock.
This is Israel. He's a Fig Team alumni. It's kind of funny to say that.
Yes, sir.
When I started this business about 2.5 years ago, he was an agent. Just sold real estate, like a lot of people in this today. And what do you do now?
I try not to sell houses to buyers and sellers, but I'm an investor. I'm fixing the homes.
That was the shortest answer I would. Yeah, I'm a fixing flipper. All right, cool. So Israel has been so kind to show up to, I think, every single one of these.
Yep,
Pretty much every single
even
one.
the one that we only had like 3 people.
Hey, that was a rain delay. There's some things that happened there. So today we're going to share a little bit of fundamental information on, how to be the bank as if you actually want to fund deals. Primarily, this isn't the route that we promote. Usually we go find a deal and then we go find the money elsewhere. That's what he does. He doesn't use his money, use other people. But in the case that you were to be an individual that had fundings and could effectively fund a deal, depending on the timeline, how you want your funds tied up for, for whatever the case may be, there's several options. So we're going to talk about that today. And Israel would be so kind to help me get through it. And then we have a panelist today with Lena and Israel, which are people that do investment stuff, not me. It was a computer nerd that doesn't do anything in investments, but likes to educate myself and speak about it. So that's weird. All right, we'll start. And this is what you said, hit this button.
Any other computer? Right. I turned it off.
I didn't turn anything on. I didn't need buttons. Let's just keep it on this. I have to use that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was just on the screen.
All right, excellent. We already did the intros. That's who we are, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, so a little bit about Grid. So it's a national network, about 16,000, primarily residential real estate agents that have come together to start and enter the investment world. It's a 12 lesson curriculum done once a month, so it's about a year long. And the objective is to teach you guys a little bit about investment throughout the way, and obviously put you in a room with experts that have done it, so you can get more in depth in your approach. So here we go. We already did that. Oh, we're not financial advisors. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not anybody of qualification that you should be taking advice from, but listen to me speak. So that's how it's going to work. So we've spoken a lot about, like I referenced before, finding a deal, doing analysis on the deal, raising funds on the deal, but there could be the case where you actually can, be the lender. And it's a primary concept of like private or hard money in a lot of ways. And it's for commercial purposes, right? So there's some nuances that you can't do when you want to fund a deal privately, but it's for purchases, renovation, rental, or real estate sale, and that sale of residential, commercial, or rental real estate, and that depends on how long you want your money to be tied up for, effectively. So, oh, this is good. Note the emphasis on commercial. These are not traditional residential mortgage loans. It's commercial loans. You're not a loan originator unless you took your course. And it's commercial loan, the repayment of which happens is to be secured by real estate, and there's collateral involved in a few other things. Do you want to say anything about private money? Keep it going.
That's actually the most important thing right there, secured by real estate. So if you're actually out there recruiting people with money, or you have your own money yourself and you want to lend it out, and you're like, oh, it's not a regular personal loan, it's actually backed by the real estate. So it's very important.
It's collateral based.
Yep.
So when you're talking about real estate based, there's always a property in question, right? I just said some of these things here. The property in question must be purchased and held for an investment. This cannot be owner occupied, and you are not a mortgage originator. And the reason why that's so important is because of things like RESPA and other compliance entities where you have to have licensing, and the Mortgage Licensing Act of 2008, RESPA, I don't even know what till it is. I have no idea. Dodd-Frank, many other laws regulatory in the mortgage industry. So before you do that, we always say consult with an attorney or some specialist, but you have to be very clear that like you're not a mortgage originator. So you need to do this very much, not in the gray area, but by the rules of a commercial loan or private loan, or these people come knocking at your door. Oh, now it'll work, right? These people come knocking at your door and, there's a lot of consequences that can be associated with that. And I think you do a lot of private money, right? So you kind of avoid this. So I don't know, you can put your color in there, but basically you just need to be careful, and if you have questions, hire attorney, not myself. That'd be a recommendation. Some considerations on being a private lender. Number one, like know your stuff. Set something up. Know your stuff. Be versed into this world. Have you ever loaned out money?
No, I want to keep my mom's message. No, we put all our money into our flips.
Okay.
So everything that we put out, we put it into our flips, but that's coming for sure.
Yeah, I think you shouldn't do this half-heartedly if you ever do want to loan your funds. It should be in a market that you know, with properties that you understand, and something you've done a lot of times. And especially in a market like now that's becoming, say, if you will, it's primarily volatile, and volatility is not about, it's just about the leaps and gains. Things change from spikes in interest rates and decrease in home value and time on market. There's a lot. This thing is. I'm gonna leave it there for now. You really want to understand the market you're getting yourself into and educate yourself in a big way. I wouldn't recommend, if it's one of your first times, you've never done it, loaning money in a market you have no idea about on a property that you didn't vet yourself and kind of hit the easy button, which a lot of us want to do if you have some cash and capital. Do your homework and reach out to experts if you want to loan their money to people that have done it and successfully completed real estate transactions. So we'll just go through that. Primarily what you need to know that at the rental value on a house, if it's a fix and flip, how to properly renovate to add, value and minimize risk. I think we had a conversation about that and the things that you should actually renovate and spend money on to increase home value, rather than just going to the nitty gritty, cutting a check and hoping someone could do it for you. You should be primarily part of the deal in terms of the details of it. So, it is your money and you want your return, and that's how you really minimize risk of being a part of it. How to pull and review a credit report. So whoever you're loaning the money to, know that they're good for it, and how to structure repayment terms to provide adequate security for the loan. So there's a bunch of ways to do that. And anything else you should know on this other than just like know your stuff, Barry?
No, I mean, there's different ways to skin that cat for sure, right? You can do JV agreements. You can be involved in the deal by doing a JV agreement. You can actually lend out the entire project and get your return, become a silent partner, because you are definitely a partner. Just because you're lending the money out and you don't know anything about that rehab, don't know anything about that property, you don't necessarily have to know much about it. You just have to have your ducks in a row when it comes to paperwork, right? And that's what Eric said, hire an attorney and make sure your paperwork is in line. But, my wife and I, we do a lot of business with silent partners. They like what we see on social, or they see on social media that we do on a daily basis. They say, hey, man, listen, we want to throw some money in there just so that they can gain a lot more interest than it is getting in the bank. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I mean, obviously you have a proven track record, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to do a private lending, I wouldn't give the money to me. Because it hasn't done that, right? I'll give it to an expert, and that's part of doing your homework. And fundamentally, I think one of the most important things, just holistically looking at it, is that repayment terms and structure, because that's how you're going to start getting your principal and your primary amounts and your profitable amounts as well. So you want to, at the very least, know that the structure of the repayment is set in your benefit to some regard. So. It's shaking now. It's not a good sign. How does the loan process work for a real estate investment? Borrow signs a commercial promissory note defining the terms of the loan. This involves what we just talked about: the amount, interest, repayment, what happens when it defaults, what's the guarantee associated with it, any other nuance associated with that deal. It's all going to be defined in the commercial promissory note. Borrow signs a commercial loan agreement stating that the loan will be used to acquire an investment property and pledging the property as collateral against repayment of the loan. That's why he emphasized in the beginning, it's associated with real estate. That's your collateral, that's your backing. That is the asset that you're going to use to borrow against effectively. The last part of that, borrower signs a deed of trust, given a trustee, and it's typically an attorney, so that attorney that's told you to talk to, that's the guy. The right to foreclose and take back the property that the loan is not repaid. I think it's important to think about that because not every deal ends up great. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in business and real estate. So understanding and defining those entrance into the deal, those exits out of the deal are very, very important. You always want to break that clause, right? Can't do that with people, but you can do that with this. And utilize a real estate attorney to draft these documents for a lender, and the borrower usually will pay the cost preparation, which is around $1,000. I think it's more than that at this point, but that's the typical payment plan for that. I don't know. Did you want to say anything about that when you're structuring the deal before I go to the safety net of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the best path is to get an attorney to write up all these documents, the note, the promissory note, the mortgage, because it does get recorded. That's how the lender actually protects themselves as well. If you want a lawyer plug, you can go reach out to my guy, Joe Siegel. Don't ever go see him though, because his office is like in the hood, like literally. I've never seen an office where you have to go to Orlando and you have to buzz in, like back in New York, you have to buzz in and they look at you through the window and they buzz you in. They look you on Colonial and OBT. Show somebody money. You want to hire them, or you know, the man for sure.
All right, I'll say that. That is Joe. What's his name?
Joe Siegel.
We're gonna bring him in next time. So you guys can meet him. We're talking about the lender safety net. You as the lender need some level of safety net. So if the loan is not repaid by those terms, it's so important to have those terms understood and stapled out by Joe. It's a similar process of traditional banking foreclosure, and you're typically safe as long as the property is worth more than the outstanding loan. This is why being able to do analytics on the property and really understanding the market, what that valuation is of that, the ARV, the after renovation value is so important. You don't want to get through the deal, get to the end of it where you're supposed to, cash out, so to speak, have something fall through on payments, the money you loaned on, and the asset you're worth is not even worth the loan you put out to. I mean, there's fundamentals one-on-one, supply and demand, and you're supplying more shit, it's a big problem. The risks, like any other financial process. So grid is based in the DMV or the Northeast. So they reference Maryland, DC, and VA, Virginia as being borrower friendly. But borrowers, the people that borrow your loan, they can file bankruptcy and use other tactics to delay repayment or foreclosure. So this is why, like, getting a credit check and knowing who you give your money to with a proven track record, where like this is how he makes his income for his phone, like this is how he feeds his family. Like he's at state of not paying his other bills with your money as well. Give it to somebody who I call it getting rich on a spreadsheet. Like those are my favorite people. They're like, bro, look what we can do. And it's like, yeah, but that math ain't mapping, in the real world. So it's very important to know who you're borrowing your money to and accept. Like when you do a hard money loan traditionally, for anybody who does it, they want to see your track record. Like show me your last 4 or 5 deals, or show me your last 3 deals, or show me this. And sometimes the interest rate associated with that loan is based on your track record. So a proof of concept goes a long way in a lot of fields of work, but especially in the investor space. I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, Eric is mentioning a lot about the fact that, it must be collateralized based on an investment deal, right? An investment property, not necessarily a primary residence. You won't be able to do that. Anybody can tell me why or can think about why? Investment property is basically going to be exactly where you're going to live. Where are you really going to live, right? If the stuff hits the fan, you're a little bit more comfortable with that residential property that you live in, right? But primarily that investment property is supposed to be generating you money. It's supposed to be paying itself, paying the bills on its own. That's the asset class that they want to loan on. So it's important that when we on that point several times.
Yeah, because the borrower, literally the person you give money to can file for bankruptcy in your SOL, right? SOL. So if you like, the confidence needs to be supreme in what you're doing, especially with your own money. These are some private lending terms. I can go into it, but it's 8 to 12 annual interest rate. But it's funny that shit, it's not that bad at this point. In real estate, 1 to 3 points on funding fees, which is 1% of the loan. 70% loan to after rent max, and 6 to 12 month repayment loans. That has to be a fixed 6 to 12 month repayment. That can't be a long term hold, right? And prepayment of some interest and most of all, funding fees, right? The fees that are on every real estate transaction, processing fee, whatever the case may be.
I mean, to be honest with you, when you become a lender, a private lender or hard money lender, whatever the case may be, people think that they get hung up on the interest, right? But really where the lenders make money is on these points.
Correct.
They make money on these points because that's money that you're never gonna see again, ever in your life. You pay it up front, and it's for you to just get plugged in with the guy that got the money. So the points is really where you're gonna make as a lender, make your money. Think about it. If you do about 5 or 6 of these deals a month and you're charging 3% points on these, I mean, it can get very expensive, very lucrative on a $200,000 or $300,000 deal alone, let alone the massive ones that Mr. Duval over there makes.
I mean, but it's all leverage, right? So as a private lender, you go like, hey, your first 4 deals is at 2 points, so then your next 5 are like this, and like it's all leverage, right? And what they're using. So you're right. The points are probably where the profitability on the because I mean the 8 to 12% doesn't really matter if the property's going in 90 days. I mean it does a little bit, but you're making effectively three payments, right? So annualized 8%. If you cut it down to 12 months, you're looking at like parts of a percent. So the points are where the money's made. And I think like, is there deals where you have to actually pay fees to get the draw for your renos?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to
So-
pay for that inspector to come out there and at least inspect the property, make sure that work has been done. And then you get that wire sent into your account.
And they pick the inspector and they get to do everything associated with the deal. So there's a lot, when you're the private lender, you're looking at the money. There's a lot of ways for you to protect your effectively your investment and ways to make money and make it profitable upfront. So something to think about. And you know, real estate's that great, or if you're writing the contract and it's legal, you can basically do whatever the hell you want. So. This was a lending deal. I mean, this is a breakdown of a deal. And this is basically effectively the end of it. We could go through it, but I don't really believe talking numbers makes sense because everybody's gonna get lost on it. Because unless we know more actually taking down the mathematical notes over there. But what I'll do prior to going down the structure, because I think getting to the panels really most important to me. We'll send out these slides. You can look at it and break it down. This is just a typical deal that you're going to go through. I'm just going to zoom through it. Here, cool. This is good. What should your borrower provide to consider a loan? So what would the person you're loaning the money to give you in terms of evidence, right? At least a minimum amount of equity or skin in the game. Never lend 100% of the required. You know, it's funny. I did take 100% home money loan, so they didn't read this slide.
Yeah, that's not accurate. You want to hunt for the 100% financing for sure.
Yeah, you know, if you're on the other side, fine it. But if you're on the side,
And becoming a lender, you will be a lot more lucrative and attractive becoming 100% financing.
yeah, 3 points.
5 points.
So yeah, 3 points. I love that. Obviously, proof of funds is required. Bank statements for all partners. Once again, credit applications. Their general history of what they do in the investment space is so damn important. It's the same concept. If you were to pick an agent in the residential real estate space, you don't want them on their first deal negotiating for you. On the big team, they got some of that, but they don't know. So it's very important to make sure that they have a good track record. So, what should you also consider? A fully executed contract for purchase. Please, like these people should come with the deal signed. Like, you know, remember, find the deal, get the money. You're on the other side of that. Like, don't buy any hypotheticals. Don't loan out any hypotheticals. Make sure it's a fully executed contract for the purchase. And do your own work on the estimation of renovations from a licensed insured contractor. If you don't feel that it's safe, you should have someone that would be willing to do it. Or honestly, just go drive out there and see the property yourself, like this guy. You know, and get your eyes on it. Just don't be the bank to not see it. Like effectively get out there. And proof of insurance for the property, like at settlement, obviously.
Can anybody tell me why that second point is important? Why do you think that second point would be important? To get estimates from renovations from a licensed insured contractor.
We have cost and sink you.
We have cost and sink you, right? But let's just say you're loaning money out as a bank, you're loaning money out to that brand new investor, and that brand new investor gets way in over his head, right? And he just sent you an estimate that they're gonna be able to keep the whole house 3,600 square feet for $2,000. Right? That's not market value, right? So you just want this out, you have this in escrow, and now you have to come up with more money to get that done, because now you have to foreclose on them or get them out of the deal. Let him or her sign over the rights over to that property, right? So it becomes a situation.
Oh, and that's it. So, let's have Nina come up and then Israel do a panel and we'll talk some more real estate.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's talk about here. You take this. And you guys can sit and be comfortable. You guys can sit.
I'm just sitting all day.
Well, nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Lina Torres. I started doing flips. I actually started as a wholesaler when I was started in real estate. And I decided to get my license because my mentor saw that we wanted to list the properties on our own and save some money. So I was like, well, that's a good idea. And I got my license and, you know, like I started doing my flips on my own and meeting a lot of people. I think what you guys were talking about, getting the private lenders to know what you have done is super important too. So if you show some skin in the game and if you show them, like prove them how your work has been and how ethical you work as well, because being ethical in this business is super important. It is the way to trust one another. So if you show them that you have ethics and that you can provide them with value, you know, like when they lend your money and stuff like that, they're gonna trust you and they're gonna lend your money. Anything to add?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, everybody doesn't understand that becoming a hard money lender is really a business. That's all it is. And you don't necessarily have to have that cash yourself. You know what I mean? You can raise funds. Anybody ever heard of the company called asset-based lending or Lima One Capital? Anybody ever heard of those two companies? If you haven't heard of those two companies, go Google, right? That's not just, it was started by some guys that, you know, maybe had some capital themselves, but they probably knew of guys that had money, right? I want to challenge you. This is a word about becoming a bank. I want to challenge you. If you have some money in your account right now, right? I want you to go in there in your mobile app and see how much the bank is giving you for that money. A quarter of a percent if you're lucky, a quarter, right? So why would it not become attractive for me that has knowledge of this by becoming a bank and say, hey, listen, man, I have this great business model, right? I'm going to give you 6, 4, 5, 6, 7% on this money, and then turn around and give it to investors at 12, 13%.
You can even, with the lenders that you guys are planning to work with, you can even like structure your terms. And sometimes you don't even have to be like, hey, I have to, because remember, you're gonna have some experience now by, you know, by them to be able to trust you. So you can be like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna give you 2 points now, and if you lend me this much money, I can give you, I don't know, closing 5% more or something like that. Depends on the deal that you're doing too. So it just depends how you structure the loan and how you structure your petition to them, so they can like see it attractive, so they can give you like the money for whatever deal you guys are working with. I do a lot of JVs too. I love JVs because of that. I don't want to be a silent lender, because as a JV, I can make a profit there too. So I can either put the loan, you know, the loan amount, whatever percentage they're asking for, or even do just the repairs money, and then do, you know, like another percentage for the JV. So it depends how you work.
So like hard money lenders are effectively middlemen, because that money still comes from probably the same like 5 resources: Citibank,
Some of them
Chase
do.
Bank, Wall Street, BlackRock,
I work with private lenders that they have their own money.
capital.
Yes, their own money. And because sometimes hard money is good if you're gonna have like a long-term deal, maybe like a flip that is gonna take 2-3 months to finish or something like that. When you have something that you can purchase right now, and they're gonna be like, hey, they're gonna take time to do the inspection. They're gonna be like, well, we can close in 7 to 10 days. When the other private guy is closing in 3 days, I mean, come on.
Because they have
As
all
in-
access to their funds.
Yeah, it's their own money.
Yeah.
I mean, the terms are different, 12%, 2 points, depends on how you structure that too, and what is the relationship with them as well. Because they can have They just go see the property and they're like, okay, this is how much I'm gonna lend you.
But yeah, that's a great point, but you still have that other business.
Yeah.
Where, like I mentioned, those two companies, they became multi-millionaires just off that business model, right? Just, plugging in guys that have their own money that don't know what to do with it. And they say, hey, listen, just put it into real estate. We have a track record. Like that same company, asset-based lending, they do a ton of deals out in the Northwest, in New Jersey, New York, Boston area. And then obviously Lima One Capital does it all throughout the country, right? But these guys, they start out basically having hundreds of millions of dollars. No, these guys crowdfunded and recruited and things like that. That's how you become the bank.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
You make your money on the interest in between, basically, like you said, becoming a middleman.
well, I mean, we've seen that, like, I've seen that a lot in residential real estate, like Home Partners of America.
Right.
They're just a product of, right? So they were just taking Wall Street money, which is $0 or zero interest, right? The cheapest money you can get directly from Wall Street. And they were funding Home Partners to buy houses and rent them out. They're treating Home Partners almost as like a hard money lender for the consumers.
Absolutely.
Because they're just buying that and their points and their interest rate are coming from rent payments.
Absolutely.
That's appreciating value and locked
Absolutely.
in. And then after a period of time, they have access to buy that house from them.
Yeah.
So it's literally the same concept of us holding it with Wall Street money, or BlackRock was loaning money for the middleman, Home Partners of America, who has no money, right? They were buying houses on behalf of the consumer, charging a premium rent, and then after 12 to 14 months, if they were able to save enough, doing a residential loan to that same individual person, right? It's the same thing as taking away the liability and giving it back to the consumer after they paid all the interest in via rent.
It's important to know that there's a lot of risk when you do your own lending, because like they were showing, there is so much risk in this too.
Everything goes
So
wrong.
you have to really be careful. I've seen like hard money lenders go under the water, go to jail because they're using the escrows.
Oh, yeah.
So if you touch those escrows, like forget it. Like make sure you're so very careful and just educate yourself. Go to speak to a like a lawyer, like his friend.
Don't sue
And
me.
yes, he can definitely guide you and make sure you are covered on that part.
Yeah. And guys, listen, the biggest thing I'll tell you is don't be afraid, right? Don't be scared as
Yeah.
agents. I'll tell you a story. Obviously I'm a big team alum. Well, we used to get leads all the time about investors, and a lot of my teammates will call me and talk to me about it because, you know, it's like, oh, I was an investor. I don't know what to do with it, right? It's like, but investors, all we really want is the numbers. We're not emotional about that property.
Yeah.
We want to know how much money we're going to make. And that's the same thing a person with money
I think
wants to know. Is how much money am I going to make
Yeah.
if I give you this? How much money am I going to bring back in this? That's it.
that's what we like to hear, the
Yeah.
numbers,
That's
right?
it. Don't need money.
Yeah, we
So-
doesn't like to make money. That's the main part of the whole thing.
Well, I think the biggest divide between residential investment is the emotional attachment to the house, because when you're showing people houses, they're thinking about their lives,
Yeah.
they're thinking about things, and now you come to a space where it's like,
I'm glad you said that, because when you guys were talking about lending not to the person living in the property, it's super important to know that they cannot foreclose that property because they might do the homestead too.
correct.
So
Right.
that is super risky there. So
Super.
yes, rentals, all of that, yes, but make sure they don't do the homestead. Because they just don't want to pay you and you can foreclose the property.
Yeah, I mean, very simple. All you gotta do is understand NOI and just understand ROI, understand expenses and how to manage expenses and basically know what you're talking about. You have to, like I tell my team, you have to practice your craft, right? If you're a doctor,
Yeah.
you're not just gonna get out of med school, right? I forget who told me this. I had a quote, somebody told me, you know, nobody cares about your damn GPA when you're in med school. When you graduate med school, what do they call you? MD,
Yeah.
right? That's it, doctor, that's it,
True.
right? But the ones that separate themselves practice their craft. And it's no different as real estate investors, you have to practice your craft.
Yeah.
And
Educate yourself.
Yeah,
That's so important. Read.
Yep.
Educate yourself. Try to get there. Like if you don't have any experience, get somebody to do it with. Do a JV. Like he has a lot of experience. I have experience.
Let's do one.
Let's do one,
Let's do one
right?
together.
Yeah, like we can do a JV and everything together. So if that is gonna give you your feet wet, and that's how you're gonna start getting trust with other people too. That's how I actually started doing flips with my broker. So here I am.
For sure.
Well.
Now we're trying to
Do you
like
have any questions for them specifically?
move into multi-families. I mean, multi-families is a good thing. Who?
He's a man.
Gentleman in the back.
On the other side, like, an investor comes to the deal, you guys talk about experience. Let's say, going off the street with like one successful deal, and you said you needed like 5 or 10.
JV,
Yeah, I don't know. JV.
going with one of them
Yeah.
has the track record to basically.
Just a
give you the
JV?
status
Yeah.
you need for
Yeah.
that deal.
That's one point, man, but I'm not gonna limit you to that, right? Because let's just say you don't know me or her, right?
Right.
You're just gonna be paying a little bit, more interest on that deal, right? If you come to a second deal, because you don't have that much of experience, they're gonna lend to it. Let's just make this clear. The house, the deal attracts the money, right?
Yeah.
And the more attractive that deal is, meaning the more spread that deal has, the money is gonna get attracted to it.
Yeah.
So because there's gonna be less opportunities for you to make mistakes.
You can offer it to people and they might be able to give you a good deal. As far as not charging you so much interest because the deal is very good.
Hey, as far as using park money, you guys probably started money at this point, but, you're using park money, do you have any companies that you would recommend possibly like partner companies or work with at the beginning?
Yeah, I recommend Lima One Capital. They're very quick.
I work with a couple of hard money loan lenders too. It depends what you're looking for. But I can definitely like give you a list of like the top 3 I have worked with. And you can choose whoever gives you the best interest for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Get with me, I can give you
I
the
mean,
contact.
it's becoming that season too, right? In the next 10 to 12 months, this is,
We need to shift.
yeah, you need to shift pretty aggressively. And I think it's all we did here to begin with build this firm and not work it.
Yeah,
The next 10, 12 months, like, you're not gonna be selling residential real estate if you were, you're gonna need to find. a
You
way to
gotta be
blend,
creative.
find- You're gonna have to get creative,
very
I'll make
creative
it
for
mine.
sure.
yeah.
Rentals? Any rental investors here? Rentals are, I know. Rentals are becoming really popular too. I mean, multifamily rentals, whoever has rentals right now has, like a
Leverage.
leverage in these times for sure. Because not everybody's qualifying for,
Assets. It's the
Yeah.
number one thing, and anything that's asset basis, it doesn't perform.
exactly.
In a rental, a rent,
You can even use private money to get a rental, if you
Correct.
guys didn't know
you
that.
just gotta
too.
make sure it's overperforming, so you can pay that interest.
Exactly, and yeah, that's super interesting.
Just had another question, like, what do you guys like criteria, like, I would come on the street with a deal, like a multi-family deal. Like,
Nice.
they take a look at this, like, what's your criteria for an OI, ROI, cap rate? What are you guys, I know everybody's different, just kind of give some insight.
I think they're going market for investors on the market speak more to that, but I think
Right.
most people don't want to buy at least at 8 cap. You know what I mean? That 8 cap right there is very sexy. 8 plus, 10 plus, but I mean, you got some investors buying at 6, 5 cap sometimes just to
Yeah.
just to park their money.
But the
Right.
thing is, like, when they buy low, it has to be some type of a structure that you can work to build
Yeah.
that cap rate up.
The value add, right, exactly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so maybe there is something that we don't see like right away on paper, but there is something you as the new owner, as the new investor can do to increase the value of that property.
Absolutely.
So
And
that,
I think
you never
the
know.
biggest thing is,
raising
yeah,
the rent.
exactly.
Raising rent.
Rents.
And trying to cut like different costs, because sometimes the previous owner is paying like too much in like insurance. Maybe you can have a better insurance for them. Maybe the rent can be increased by you just putting some new paint in there, new flooring or something like that. Try to do like a small investment in the property, and then you're gonna raise that cap rate for sure.
And I'll give you a perfect example. We have a property in Winter Park that when I tell people what we're getting for rent, they can't believe it.
Yeah.
1,400 square feet in Winter Park, we get $3,000 for that damn property in rent.
Beautiful.
12 months, my brother, 12 months. So, so when I tell people that they can't believe that we're getting there, right? But it's different in multi-family, like, it's limitless. You can charge whatever the hell you want and add value to that.
Yeah.
There's more KPIs at stake.
Right, more occupancy rates, things like that. Yeah.
And like, the thing is like, I'm not afraid to invest in another state.
Oh,
I'm not afraid to do that. I can,
I can't get there in a drive,
no, I'm not afraid to do that as long as everything is working properly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, investing not just in Florida, Florida became really crazy with multi-families, really expensive, that some people were not, like, it was not even worth it because of the cap rate that we were talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
So it was not created way to bring that cap rate for sure. So people started going different states and
and also we got so inflated.
Makes sense.
Florida, like prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
Here because of COVID,
exactly,
there were deals all over the country at that point, at much lower rates.
yeah,
People still live there, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I have my eyes in Missouri.
No, that is Missouri, Wisconsin.
So,
Two places are very.
yeah, I have my eyes on Missouri right now. See what happens.
Yeah, but the point of the matter is, don't let just one deal limit you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You can still get funding for that deal, no matter what, even if you have no HUDs to your name, you can still get funding to that deal. The deal will attract the money for sure.
exactly. Bring the deal.
How do you guys like to see like the deal delivered to you? Five the paperwork folder, a 5
Fully in on.
Man, I'm not bougie like some people in this room,
Just an email.
Just text that to me, bro.
Yeah.
Text it. I'm probably not gonna see the email.
I know. I
I just
know.
want the meat and potatoes, purchase price, ARV.
I sent that guy a video happy birthday. It took him 4 weeks to say thank you.
And I apologize to him for like three minutes straight. I did.
Yeah, just easy way for sure. I'm the same way. I
I
work
mean,
the
you
same
find,
way.
you find the money. I think that's the most important thing. We've always
Yeah.
said that, so.
I mean, you don't find the money, we can find the money. Yeah.
I mean, that's a moving target, right? It all depends on the deal.
Yeah.
It depends on you as your profile, you know what I mean, your experience level.
Well, how much work?
How much work I'm gonna put in there.
Exactly. How much involvement? Right, how much involvement am I gonna have to put into?
It depends on that. It depends on the deal and the work that you have to put in.
It's not. It's not.
It just depends on the deal, like everything.
It's not. I mean, if you got a tremendous deal, you know what I mean, and it all depends on the.
I mean, then well does syndications, right? So he just put $0 in, but he'll raise $10 million in funds, he'll put 30% equity in the project, but he's managing the project management, the GC, the
That's a
subcontract,
lot of work.
the like, any issues with tenants, make sure payment, like, he does it all, so people are like, all right, I'll give you money, I'll give you 30% equity in the deal, right? Right, but he doesn't have any money in the game, but he's got sweat equity in the game, and that matters too. If you bring them the deal and you're like, this guy wants to sell, I didn't do any ARV analysis, I don't know what the rental is, he's gotta do all that. You know what I mean?
It's a little more in the cut,
A lot of work, so you bring everything else in.
a thicker cut for
Yeah.
sure.
All-
Does anybody else have any questions?
We can mingle after, like turn music on, drink all the beer, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, but, anything relevant,
You got a question, I know you do.
What,
you got a notepad. He's just-
what was your question?
If you guys, if it doesn't make sense as far as like cash, on the acquisition, are you guys creative?
Yes,
This is creative though.
Yeah,
Like,
this-
talking
yeah.
about owner financing, it's all creative.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
creative is like,
don't let the deal die, man, for
correct.
sure, don't let the deal die.
Our-
if the deal is really good, make it
Yeah.
work.
I mean,
You
I
have
got
to make it
a
work.
3-door property at 4% seller finance interest rate. I had to put 100 grand down in it. But the asset performs $4,000 a month already with 4 doors. Like, do I give a shit? Like, is it pure creative? Did I put nothing in the game? I don't care. For 2 years, I'll be back at 0 on what's in it. So I think like everything, this is creative. I think hard
Yeah.
money is, I think all of it is considered,
Yeah, it's
I hate the 0
everything
down.
is
I mean,
creative.
it's there, right? But you need to accumulate probably 5 more properties that way to make up leverage instead of you putting skin in the game.
Yeah, not only that, it's just all about taking that risk, right? You know what I mean?
Then
You
you're
gotta-
dealing
you
with
gotta
the
take that
seller,
risk.
you're financing with the seller.
Right, you gotta take
Yeah.
that risk.
Like, that
Exactly.
is terrible, it's so annoying.
You
I
put your
follow a guy
terms.
by the name of, his real name, but he comes up the King of Miami Real Estate, right? If you don't follow him on IG, he's a great follow.
He's my
Right.
mentor.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I gotta talk to you after this. I
I,
gotta talk to you after this.
I started with Jalal back in 2016 when he got fired from working with
Uncle G,
Grant Cardone.
Yeah, from Uncle G.
Yeah.
His story is crazy, right? So
So-
I met him in Dallas. I met him in Dallas at an event, and I followed this guy ever since, right? But what resonated with me is he took that risk. He was wholesaling as well. He said basically, man, listen, you're not gonna become a multi-millionaire by just wholesaling, right? So he took 500K. I'm sure you've heard the story. Took 500K and put it into his family. Now he's just like,
Slamming that.
monopoly money. It's
It's
like,
amazing.
you know
Over
what I
a
mean? One
thousand,
time left and right, you know what I mean?
over a thousand.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So Uncle G's syndrome. I love Uncle G.
Yeah.
For sure.
We actually have some lots. If anybody's buying lots, he just sent them to me yesterday. So
That's
just,
awesome.
just so you know. I got the funds for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a deal right now, and I'm just sitting with you. So I had a question to see if you guys, I was giving numbers, you could quickly maybe underwrite it to see if, man, that's not even a deal I would fund, just wholesale it, or say, man, that's something that needs to probably keep itself.
Absolutely. That's easy.
Yeah, we can definitely do that for sure.
Yeah, that's easy.
Or it's,
12897 Cypress Street. I got on the contract.
I just texted the pictures.
Remember, like I told my man right here, just the meat and potatoes, right? What's the purchase price? All right, what's the
ARV.
What's the rehab? What's the ARV?
No,
Yeah, that's a little tight though.
yeah,
It's a little tight. Why is that? Because if you consider that you have to get hard money financing on that, right? You gotta consider your holding costs,
yeah,
right?
the cost that is gonna take you to keep the property for sure.
You're gonna be fighting.
You never know, you're gonna trust this guy that is gonna fix it. But you don't never know how long is he gonna really take. He's gonna tell you, oh yes, I'm gonna take 3 weeks.
Right. Right.
That never happens.
And it never happens.
It never happens.
We actually saw, we rehab our properties in, 3 to 5 weeks, to be honest with you. That's why we've become so successful, but, we cracked that whip.
I rehabbed a property in 2 weeks. And this was after,
Is that a?
Oh. I'm telling you, this was after I trusted, the guy that was working in there. We were like a month, we purchased the property and then the next month, the guy sends me pictures. Yes, we're working. I'm like, okay, because it was like Christmas and all that. So we started working and I never hear from him again. And it was in Ocala. I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive all the way there.
Mhm.
He took the drywall, the floors, the bathrooms, everything was empty. Like the house was,
Took the material.
Yeah,
no, we kept part of the materials, but we have to still put some money in it. So, yeah, he left it like that. So that holding cost of that property, we didn't put it in the rehab. So you need to make sure the holding cost is a little, like, put something for holding cost too. Plus the harmony points for all that is gonna add up.
not only that, but that 220 ARV, is it pre-July or after August? Okay, so the 10% is 220. Okay, all right, well then I think you're good, man. I mean, that you could possibly do many things with that, because it's low, it's a low number.
Right,
That's a
Yeah.
great property to burn.
yeah,
That's a great one. It's low cost, low holding costs, and it
And you-
probably passes that 1% rule. You're probably looking into the 2% rule.
after you renovate it and then you go and like to the bank and get the loan, you're probably gonna be good.
Absolutely. Keep it ASAP.
Sounds good for Bird.
Yeah.
Sounds good for Bird.
Absolutely.
Wait, but the interest rates right now are not the best.
Yeah, that's
So you gotta take that into consideration too.
You got some arms that you can get into. don't lock yourself into, 6-month, 12-month arms. Keep your
Yeah.
options open.
You never know.
Great.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Good question. What's an arm?
You tell me. There you go. It's an adjustable rate mortgage. It's basically another fancy way of saying, hey, I'm gonna just give you this.
For this much, this many times.
And then we're gonna come back and renegotiate. Yeah, it's kind of like a baseball contract. Oh, I'm gonna give a team option. And we'll take out of this and go off there.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you guys went over this already, but, let's say I was bringing over a deal. No,
Late.
no,
You got to watch.
You're late.
if someone's bringing over a deal, a probate, how do you, okay, like, let's say I brought you guys a deal that is maybe about to go in process of probate, or they're just starting the beginning process of probate, when you're, making an offer on a deal like that. What do those terms? look like?
But is the process already started or you are going to be getting the property before the probate starts? Because you can do both. Like what I've done is that I get the property before the probate starts. We pay the probate. We secure that property that way with yes, we secure that. And then it depends on the probate. It can take a month, it can take 3 months. So what I do is like a contract with the seller, because some sellers are like very emotional. I know. Is the what?
All of them.
The heirs, the
Yeah.
heirs,
Yeah.
yeah, whoever owns the property. You want to make sure the property that you're investing to get that probate done is gonna come back to you, and that time that you're not wasting your time, right?
I suggest
So-
you tie it up.
Yeah, you tie it up, you put it in the contract, you say, hey, at this time, as soon as the probate finishes by this time, you're gonna get them this much money.
I
So
would
you
hire
secure
an
the property
attorney. I
there.
would hire an attorney to get that done.
Yeah, of
ASAP.
course, get it done with the attorney. I have an attorney that I work with all the probates, and they're really fast too.
Probates are my absolute favorite. I love probate deals.
Me too.
I would wait on the probate to the very end, like I waited on the meeting.
Yeah, I don't care about how long does it take, as long as it gets done, right?
Yep, so-
Yeah, I love probates too.
Absolute favorite. We just made a ton of money. for probate deals recently. It's cool.
Yeah.
We waited on that thing for like, I don't know, like 4 months.
But the thing is, like, you wait 4 months, probably, like, you got it under
I
contract,
got
probably
them.
for a certain amount, and now the property went out, but who cares? You have it under contract for this much.
And even if you want to wholesale it, if you sell it to an actual real big time, a real
Investor.
investor, they're gonna wait.
Yeah.
That probate I bought was a wholesaler.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you got a deal?
I will.
Hey, you want a JV?
I will
you want a
marry- I will
JV?
marry that dude and I will wait for it, for sure. If the number- if the number says I will-
JV, LD.
I'll wait for it, for sure.
Yeah, any other question, guys? Good,
All right, guys, thank you
All right.
so much for coming.
no, thank you so much, so good.